Hello, seasoned humans. For the past 3 years, we've all been learning how to talk to artificial intelligence, how to write a better prompt, how to give it more context, how to convince it to stop using big words like delve and revolutionize and game changing, right? But while we were busy learning how to talk to AI quietly changed the arrangement. No longer does it just want us to answer questions or want to answer questions for us. It wants to do the work. And I mean, that sounds great, right? Sounds wonderful, right up until you realize that the work means reading your files, opening your apps, checking your email, moving information around, clicking buttons, and eventually making decisions. So the most important question in artificial intelligence right now is no longer what is the perfect prompt. Instead, it's how much control are you willing to hand over? Because the chatbot era is ending, the agent era has begun. Bum, bum, bum. I'm that Mike Hamilton, and this is Seasoned Tech, AI and technology for people who remember dial-up, just like me. You know, if you remember dial-up, then you've already lived through several moments when technology promised to make life simpler. You know, we were promised flying cars. Somehow, all of this left us with 17 passwords, 6 subscription services, and a refrigerator that wants to do updates. So today, we're going to figure out whether AI agents are finally the practical version of artificial intelligence we've been waiting for, or whether we're about to give the intern the keys to the building before finding out whether the intern knows where the light switches are. Part 1, AI is having its Windows 95 moment. You know, there was a time when using a computer meant knowing exactly what to type. You had a dark screen, you had a blinking cursor, you had commands you were expected to remember. And if you typed the wrong thing, computer didn't just ask you nicely, you know, did you mean something else? Nope, just sat there, just judging you. Dark screen, like the Babadook, just kind of waiting in the shadows. The graphical computers became mainstream, so think Windows UI, Mac OS, things like that. Instead of memorizing every command, we could now point, we could click, we could drag, we could drop. Everybody needs a good drop, right? You can't drag unless you drop. You can't drop unless you drag. The computer became accessible to millions of people this way that had absolutely zero interest in becoming computer programmers. I mean, they didn't have to be, right? I think artificial intelligence, or AI as some call it, is entering a similar transition. Chatbots have essentially been the command line era of AI. You type something, machine responds. You type something else, machine responds again, over and over and over. Every interaction begins with you deciding exactly what to ask and what the next step should be, right? But an AI agent works completely differently. Now, instead of giving it one instruction at a time, you give it a goal. Everybody needs a goal, right? I'd love to have a goal. The agent determines which steps may be required, uses the tools available to it, checks in the progress, and then continues working towards a positive outcome. That is an enormous change. You know, in July of 2026, OpenAI introduced ChatGPT Work, describing it as an agent that can operate across connected apps and files, stay with complicated projects for hours, turn a goal into finished documents, presentations, websites, whatever. Google is heading in that same direction. At Google I/O 2026, the company announced information agents that can monitor the web in the background, track subjects that matter to you, send synthesized updates when something changes. It also introduced Spark, a personal agent designed to take care of longer tasks. Now, Microsoft now offers agents that can connect to organizational data, automate repetitive tasks. Microsoft 365, the workflows agent, allows automation in ordinary things that you would do in Office. These companies compete over nearly everything, but they seem to agree on this one thing. The next phase of AI is not merely about giving us better answers. It's about completing larger portions of the job. And here's the part that should get your attention, okay? For the past several years, we have been told that the essential AI skill is prompt engineering. Build a better prompt. People have sold courses, templates, and giant laminated cheat sheets to help us construct the perfect paragraph and put it into ChatGPT. I mean, that's what I thought. Now, just as normal people are finally figuring out how to write a decent prompt, the skill is changing. The valuable skill may no longer be prompting. It may be delegating, right? And those are not the same thing. Now, before we keep going, take a second to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe. It really, really helps. It helps more people find the channel, and it tells me what kind of AI and tech topics you want me to break down next. This channel is for people who remember dial-up, but still want to understand what's coming next with all the hype, jargon, and nonsense. All right, let's get back to it. Part 2, the difference between asking and delegating. Let's say that I ask a chatbot, give me 10 possible sponsors for a technology event in my town. It gives me a list. I review that list. Then I research the companies. I figure out whether they're a good fit because they're not all going to be. I locate the correct contacts. I create a spreadsheet. I write the outreach emails. I customize those emails, which is an important step. I schedule the follow-ups. The AI assisted with one piece of that process, but I still manage the entire workflow. Now, imagine I gave an agent a goal, right? Not a task. Research potential regional sponsors for this event. Prioritize companies that have supported technology, education, or workforce development programs. Build a spreadsheet with the strongest prospects. Explain why each company fits. Locate publicly available contact information. Draft a personalized outreach email to each one. Let me review everything before you send anything. That is not a question. That's an assignment. And the difference matters because an assignment requires more than intelligence. It requires context. It requires access. It requires tools, the availability thereof. Most importantly, it requires trust. At Rogue Media Network, we push out more than 50 pieces of audio, video, and live content during a typical week. We have podcasts, we've got live shows, we've got clients, right? We've got sponsors. Sponsors are very important. We do events. We do live events. We do recorded events. We do calendars. We do all kinds of stuff, right? We do social media. There's tons and tons of things that we do. Editing, huge part of it. Graphics, music, and enough digital files to make Marie Kondo walk into the server room, turn around, and leave without saying a word. You know who Marie Kondo is? I didn't, but now I do. I'm not especially interested in an AI that can write another generic paragraph about unlocking the power of innovation. Don't care. I am interested in getting Tuesday afternoon back, right? I think that goes for all of us. Could an agent review a podcast transcript, identify the strongest moments, create the episode description, suggest short clips, and draft a social post? Could it look through an event plan, find missing deadlines, and prepare the next production meeting agenda? Sure. Could it review sponsorship notes, update the prospect tracker, and tell us which companies need a follow-up? Could it monitor important changes in AI and media and then prepare a briefing before I get to the office? Well, the answer to all of that is increasingly yes. OpenAI says its newer work agents can perform longer multi-step assignments, use connected apps and files, create finished deliverables, and continue reoccurring work through scheduled tasks. And this is where the story becomes more complicated, because the same capabilities that make an agent useful also make its mistakes more consequential. A chatbot can give you a bad answer. An agent, well, they can put the bad answer into a spreadsheet. They can use it to update a presentation. They can schedule a meeting about it and email it to 6 people before lunch. That is efficiency. It's simply efficacy moving in the wrong direction. Part 3, the real risk is not the robot uprising. Whenever this subject comes up, the conversation usually jumps to one or two extremes, right? Either AI agents are going to solve every problem, cure cancer, eliminate all boring work, and give everyone a 4-day work week, or they're going to become Skynet, steal our jobs, hunt us through the abandoned ruins of a shopping mall. The actual danger will probably be less cinematic. The real danger is that people will connect powerful agents to important parts of their lives without understanding what those agents can see, change, or send. An agent becomes more useful when it can read your email. It also becomes way more dangerous. It becomes more useful when it can access your calendar, cloud storage, customer database, accounting records, and social accounts. It also becomes more dangerous. Every connection creates leverage, and leverage does not care whether the action is smart. Leverage only makes the action larger. Here's the part that I think many of the AI demonstrations skip. AI agents do not eliminate the need for human judgments. They increase the value of human judgment. When AI gives you one paragraph, you can inspect the paragraph. When an agent completes a 47-step workflow, you have to understand which parts deserve inspection, where approval points belong, and what the agent should never be allowed to do alone. Microsoft now advises users that delegating a task to an AI does not transfer responsibility. Its guidance says people remain accountable for reviewing and approving the accuracy, tone, and impact of the final work. That is excellent news for people over 40, 50, 60 who assume younger workers automatically have the advantage. You have spent decades learning what completed job is supposed to look like. You know when a client email sounds wrong. You know when a sales number does not make sense. You know when shortcut creates an even bigger problem next month. You also know the difference between completing a task and completing it correctly. Very important. That experience is not becoming obsolete. It may be becoming more valuable. OpenAI's own research describes a shift from short chatbot exchanges towards delegated assignments that can continue for longer and longer periods. It's also reported rapid growth in agent use outside of software development, including recruiting, legal work, finance, and other business functions. The future may not belong exclusively to the people who know how to build AI. It may belong to the people who know how to manage it. Part 4. The Agent Ladder. So how do you begin using AI agents without handing them the digital equivalent of your wallet, house keys, and your social security card? I think we need something I'm calling the Agent Ladder. You do not start at the top. You earn your way upward. Okay? So here's level 1. Level 1, observe. At level 1, the agent can look, research, compare, and summarize. It cannot change anything important. You might allow it to review public websites, analyze a collection of documents, compare products, summarize customer feedback, monitor news about a specific subject, identify patterns in your past content, right? These all seem very safe. This is the safest place to begin because your agent is gathering information rather than acting on your behalf. But you still verify important facts. An AI can read 500 pages faster than I can. That does not mean it understood every one of those pages correctly. Speed and comprehension are not automatically the same thing. Level 2, prepare. At level 2, the agent creates materials for you to review. So you could say it might draft an email, build a spreadsheet, prepare a presentation, create a project plan, organize that same information, write social posts, update a script. This part can save enormous amounts of time because the agent performs the assembly work while you remain the editor. Nothing leaves the building yet. Nothing gets published. Nothing gets sent. The agent just prepares. The human approves. Level 3, act with permission. At level 3, the agent may take an action, but only after an approval checkpoint. It can prepare an email and ask before sending it. It can create a calendar event and ask before inviting anyone. It can prepare social content and ask before publishing. It can organize files and ask before deleting, replacing, or moving anything that's important. This is where agents begin to feel genuinely powerful, right? It is also where boundaries become essential. OpenAI and Microsoft both describe approval controls or human validation as important safeguards when agents interact with connected systems or perform consequential actions. The approval screen is not an inconvenience. It is the seatbelt. Level 4, run. At level 4, the agent performs a recurring workflow. Every morning it checks something. Every Friday it updates something. When a condition changes, it alerts someone. This is where the largest time savings may eventually appear. Google's information agents, for example, are designed to monitor the web continuously and notify users when information matching their requirements appears. But you should only automate a workflow that you understand, right? Do not automate confusion. Can I say that one more time? Do not automate confusion. If a process is disorganized when humans perform it, the agent will not repair it. It may simply perform the disorganized faster and more consistently, which is frightening. Before an agent reaches level 4, you should be able to answer 4 questions. What can it access? What can it change? What requires approval? And how will I know when it's wrong? If you can't answer those questions, the agent is not ready to run by itself. Part 5, the head fake. At the beginning of this video, I asked whether AI agents are the breakthrough ordinary people have been waiting for, or the moment when we begin giving AI too much control. But I think that may be the wrong choice. The real answer is that they are both. AI agents could make advanced automation accessible to people who could never build a traditional automation system. A local business owner may soon be able to describe a repetitive process in plain English and have an agent help perform it. A teacher could turn source materials into lesson plans and student resources. A salesperson could prepare for meetings without spending hours gathering information. A podcaster could transform one episode into an entire week of promotional material. A family could organize decades of photographs, recordings, documents. They could all have a searchable archive. That is an extraordinary opportunity. But the easier delegation becomes, the more deliberate we must become about what we delegate. The biggest threat is not that artificial intelligence suddenly becomes human. It is that humans stop paying attention, which we see a lot, because the machine sounds confident. And the biggest opportunity is not that an agent does everything for you. It is that an agent handles the repeatable parts so that you have more time for the work that requires experience, taste, empathy, relationships, and judgment. You know, all that human stuff. In other words, the work that makes you valuable. Part 6, you do not need to become a prompt engineer. No matter what everybody says, here is what I want people in my generation to understand. You're not too late. In fact, this transition could make AI easier to use. You may not have to learn 100 technical commands. You may not have to memorize complicated prompt formulas. You may not have to spend your entire weekend watching a 4-hour video called the 73 ChatGPT prompts you must learn before Monday. You will need to learn how to describe a goal, provide the right context, set boundaries, review the result, correct the process. That sounds less like programming and more like management. It sounds like teaching, right? I taught. Sounds like it. It sounds like running a business. I did that. It sounds like producing a show. Done that. It sounds like every job where you have ever had to explain what good work looks like to another person. The AI industry spent several years telling everyone to become better prompt writers. I think the next few years will reward people who became better directors. Not directors who sit in a chair and shout orders, directors who understand the desired outcome, who give clear guidance, who recognize a bad take, who know when to try again, and who know when the finished work is ready for the public. Your role is not disappearing. It is moving up one level. You stop operating every tool yourself. You start directing the system. But do not hand over the entire production on the first day. Start with one annoying, repeatable, and reversible task. Let the agent observe, then let it prepare. Let it act with permission. Only after it has repeatedly proven itself should you allow it to run. Because AI may be ready to do more of your work, that does not mean it's ready to be your boss. The chatbot era taught us how to ask machines questions. The agent era will teach us something much more important: how to decide what should remain human. In the next episode, I'm going to give an AI agent one real workflow inside of my company, Rogue Media Network. Not a staged demonstration, not a fake example where everything magically works on the first try. A real workflow that normally takes us hours. We are going to see whether the agent can save us an entire day, or whether it creates an entirely new problem, which we've seen that. So subscribe if you want to see what happens. Tell me in the comments, what is one task that you would love to hand to an AI agent? And what is one task you would never trust it to touch? I am that Mike Hamilton. This is Seasoned Tech, and apparently we've reached the point where the computer no longer needs us to double click. Now it would like access to the calendar. That's it for this one. If this video helped you understand AI or technology a little better, hit the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. Really, really helps. Your likes and comments help YouTube show these videos to more people who are trying to keep up with all this stuff. And your comments help me decide what to cover next. Until next time, keep learning, keep experimenting, and remember, the future belongs to those of us who survived dial-up. I am that Mike Hamilton, and I'll see you in the next one.